Hello everyone. This is a short video that's kind of a recap on the Out of Atlantis Zoomcast we did. There are just a few things that I found in some of my old issues of Temple Doors. I wasn't even looking for it, but I did find it, and it relates to Ruda, and I would like to share these with you here. So I'm looking at some of my old material, and Bart had asked me a really good question. If the let's see, what did he say exactly? If the Rutans, no, not Rutans, if the Mazur Grail lineage were the Hyksos, and I said no, and that was correct. However, I want to clear something up because the Assyrians actually were direct descendants of Atlantis, the Assyrians. We have a problem here because then the Assyrians mixed with other races, and this happened and that happened, and then the Assyrians, well, then they did have some Hyksos in them at some point in time. Or they at least would have had, not Hyksos, no, I'm sorry. Here we go again with confusion, not Hyksos. The Jashur, who we later called Aryans, the original Jashur that was created by the Anunnaki, but it was created from star lineages, but not the Mazur. It was created from some star lineages of ours, the shepherd kings, with their star lineage, which was ultimately from the world of Atlantis, and other people, races, on Earth. And they created this tribe, and that was a long time ago, because Thoth is really taking me back to where the whole idea of the Aryans really began, because the Aryans as a race is not true. There is no such thing. But if you want to substitute it and see how that caught on in the minds of people of the time and in the minds of Nazis and all of this, you have to go back to the Jashur. So, when the Jashur mixed with this and that and the other and became the Hyksos, that little branch of the Jashur, they came into Egypt because that is where they had been before, or their ancestors had, with the great ones like Horus, Osiris, and all of these star beings. They had been among the companions of Horus. But things happen, and this little group or branch of them went off when everything fell, and they mixed with this and they mixed with that, and they mixed a lot with the Jashur. That was a big chunk of coming back to the Jashur. They mixed again because that was their second time around. Anyway, it's all mixed by then. But the Mazur were not a part of the Hyksos when they came to Egypt, either the first time or the second time. Okay, so that's cleared up. Now, it's cleared up to me. So now, we want to look at the Assyrians. Like the Phoenicians, were direct descendants of Atlantis. Right here we are on the text. However, the Phoenicians' ancestors were from the region of Phoenicia, where the main fallen Melchizedek temples were. The Assyrians' forebears were from the templeplex Isle of Ruda, the only region as a whole of Atlantis that did not succumb to the fall within the temples in the last days. The Rudans were actually a race all their own, since they had, in the early stages of their temple existence, intermixed with a golden race from the stars. Now see, I forgot this. When we were talking about Rudans, I forgot this little tidbit, which was probably only mentioned once in 1992. So I hope I can be forgiven for that because I can't remember all of this. So anyway, there we are. So after, let me see, where am I? Certainly all Atlanteans had a starseed heritage, but the Rutans were deeply infused with the stars. The starseed is to create a interrace of their own. The Rutans were taller than the Atlanteans, who averaged 6'2" for men and 6 feet for women. Rutans were like 7 and 7. Well, I have 2 sevens there, but 7 feet, about something like that. That's a typo. And their skin was quite golden in tone, differing from the reddish gold of the Atlanteans. Many races at that time had a gold tone to their skins, which is a starseed quality. Since most people were far more integrated with the starfolk than are the Earth's kind now. Also, they were closer to the original inhabitants of Earth, which were of the same ultraseed. But the Rutans practically glowed in the dark, such was the light intensity of their skin, which became rarefied with full moons, solstices, and equinoxes, and other sacred alignments. By rarefied, we mean alchemically semi-transparent, such as was related to you in the writings of the Blue Stone. This is sort of speaking to me here, this part, all of this. The Rutans did not conform with the latter-day Atlantean period, and thus were in that time isolated and somewhat shunned by the main body of Atlan Melchizedek priests after the male takeover of the Melchizedek temples on the main islands of Atlantis. The Rutans did have a secret following among the Atlanteans who were against the usurpation. Now let us return to Nineveh and the cornerstone of Kniber. Well, I don't know if I'm going to get into this because I mentioned it on another video, but it really doesn't relate directly to what I want to say here, so I'm not going to do that. If you want to read all of this, you can get my 3/4/92 issue of Temple Doors in my Spirit store. Portal members can get it for free, accessing it in the Vault of Thoth. So let me see what else I wanted to share here. Well, Thoth is telling me right now that, oh, and there is another thing before I get to that. He's reminding me to mention that I had said, well, maybe, and I was asking, this was on my the Osiris Rising group on Facebook, and I said, well, could it be? Because I didn't know. I was put a question mark that maybe the Rutans anticipated what was going to happen to them, or maybe even they created it. I didn't know. I was just posing the question. So Thoth came in then later and said, no, well, I saw this text in this, and I asked Thoth, okay, what is correct? Because in the text it says that I wrote, that I channeled from him, that the Rutans didn't even know they had ascended right away. If you look at the connection to our timeline, they didn't know until rather recently. That would have been recently to 1992. What does recently mean? When Thoth says recently, it could be 100, 200, years from when I was writing it. I don't know. But they obviously didn't know for a long time. Long time, that's a keynote because that means our time. To them, it might have been a few days, But they didn't know what had happened. And then they found out, I don't know how. And I think they were probably pleased with it at that point because they certainly didn't want to go down with the ship. And they had a lot to offer on the interplane. And then they realized their role. So I would like to do a talk on that when I get the information. No guessing from Maya. I'm going to get the information from Thoth. And then, what really happened there? How come they didn't know? And when they did know, who told them? I want to find that out. And what did they do at that point? It kind of fascinates me. It's like they're sitting up there, and what's going on? And what went on? So I would like to do a video on that, and I will. But right now, we're not going to do that. So now, we're getting to what Thoth is just now telling me. He is saying that Ruda, as a very singular experience that's almost separate from Atlantis, it started out even on the continent of Atlantis, but it became a very separate thing, just sort of nestled in there on the whole, at the corner of the whole Atlantean drama, and literally would have been destroyed by that drama had they not ascended. And their ascending was not a fluke thing. So that's what we want to get into later. But he is saying that it is a major part of this whole procession that we're in now. Just as the world Atlantis coming into being the continent of Atlantis and all the races streaming out from there, all that went on with that. And how the time tsunami was created because of the Atlanteans. And that was a huge, redirection of our time energy away from the Rana time wave into this defaulted zone. So that was just major. So he's saying just as major, this is the way he's putting it, is the role that Ruda plays in our return to the Rana time wave that takes us home. And home now is the new Earth star. New Earth star, the future of what we're doing. But really, it's home in the sense of continuing the timeline the time wave that we were supposed to be on to get us there. There's a very big difference between time wave and timeline. Certainly they're similar, but a time wave is an undulating flow. It's a bandwidth. Many timelines can fit inside a time wave. And all those timelines are babies of the wave. They were germinated from the wave. And they're all good little timelines that relate to Mama. However, we were bounced right out of that. So now we've got time waves coming in from God knows where, and we're bouncing off of them, and some going here and going there, and it's havoc, It could be worse, of course. But we're having problems with that, and have had for some time. So when we get back in the Rana time wave with bandwidth, we're back on target where we left off. And we're going home. But home is our future home, which is really in the now moment for those who step out of the timeline and into the full time wave. So that's what he wanted to relate, how important that is. Now, he didn't give me the mechanics of it, what's going to happen and what role they'll play. He's not giving that right now, but that is what he had to say to me at this moment. And so I believe I will conclude now what I was speaking about. So much aloha to you all. And as I like to say, happy trails until we meet again.